If the world around you should ever fall apart, my love, then I will still be here. If the going gets too hard along the way, then you just call, my dear. Divided we fall, and if all that should ever be against the wall, we'll be together, together, you and I. Sandy.
Just rumba right on in.
That's a song. That's a St. Thomas song written by Sam Rollins. He was at his. That's actually where his heritage came from. So he wrote it with Caribbean calypso, actually.
Oh, a calypso one, yeah. That just makes you move. Yeah. Well, good morning, everyone, here at Unity Michiana. And it's so wonderful to see your beautiful and handsome faces here today, and also welcome to all of you who are joining via our live stream service. As we gather together here in consciousness, in a choicefulness to be together, to just learn and grow and to explore, we recognize that we are connected to each other across the miles and to all of humanity in this spiral of growth and of moving higher into different realms. Here at Unity of Michiana, we are a heart-centered, a multi-generational, and a diverse spiritual community. And we're dedicated to teaching and practicing a positive life approach in our spiritual journey. And our vision is a world that is united in loving acceptance, celebrating inclusivity, harmony, prosperity, and awakened consciousness. So thanks for being a part of this spiritual family of this group and for being here this morning with open hearts and open minds to receive, to be blessed, to uplift, and to share with each other. I will now start by lighting our Christ candle. And contrary sometimes to popular belief, Christ is not Jesus' last name. We tend to say Jesus Christ and think, oh, that's his last name. And it is in truth the Christos, or the word Christ, represents a heightened spiritual consciousness and awareness, and that's how Jesus was referred to as. And yet in Unity we know that we have inherent within each and every one of us also that consciousness of the Christness, of that higher light, that higher beingness. And so as I light this Christ candle, know that it is representative of the light within each of you. So if you will join with me in a moment of prayer, just to become centered and in preparation for this time that we share together. So as we breathe and as we kind of notice the thoughts in our minds and yet allow them to just flow on through, and then we breathe more deeply into our solar plexus, into the core of our being, and we bring ourselves fully present, recognizing the gifts that we receive through the message today, through talking with each other, through the music that touches our soul, that we are indeed divinely blessed and gifted with this very special time. And as we are receptive to this gift, to the many gifts that we receive as we gather together, we just give thanks in our hearts for the freedom and the opportunity to spiritually explore each of us in our own way and yet as a group together. To be open to shift in our consciousness, to be a part of the light of this world. And so we say, thank you, God. Thank you for the flow of all life, of all presence, of all that is creation. We pray this together. Amen. And Natalie's here. So Natalie, do you want to come on down? Our youth are on their summer vacation, but come on. Okay, we've got a couple. Come on down. Thank you so much. And so we get to bless our youth, how wonderful it is. And again, as we rub our hands together, it's not just something we do every Sunday. There's a reason and a purpose, because it reminds us of that energy that's inherent in and through our body and through all of our universe. And as we beam that forth, we can feel that energy here in the room and surrounding our youth, and we say, we see you surrounded in the light of God's presence. And we are grateful for the love you share with us. Go and have a great time, everyone. And we bless Ella, too, who's not up here, but just right there, and she's included in all of that. John, I'll turn it over to you for our music.
Okay, this is one we've done a lot in the past. It's a nice song for a unity service, for a service about unity. We are one, we are many in a welcoming place. In the deeds we accomplish, we find our grace. When the world connected, my major so vast, we now plant these blessings, may they ever last. We now count these blessings, may they ever last. My iPad turned off, sorry. We are one, we are many, may peace be our guide, as we offer each hope, with love by our side, with the linen boots of our path. We now plant these blessings, may they ever last. We now plant these blessings, may they ever last. And this one's a song I wrote a few years back. It was a solo song, but now I'm making it a congregational song. So do your best. It's a lot of reverb. Well, those times I feel so far away from my path, from which I know I should not stray. I look back, think about the lessons learned right here with my spiritual family. Oh, I know it's never easy to go through life with all the hills and valleys, but I trust the teachings and centering thought of mine will get me through these trying times. When I look upon this journey, I can feel the fear residing in me, but I trust the Spirit will guide the way. I'll find the comfort of who I'm meant to be. Every time the shadows creep over me, I know my practice lives inside of me. My faith will lead me back again. I know the love is always here for me. Say a prayer today for my loved one. I say a prayer today for myself. I share the joy with those that I love so well, and I welcome all their love to heal myself. I say a prayer today with my loved ones. There you go. I say a prayer today for myself. I'll share joy with those that I love so well. And I welcome all their love to heal myself. Thank you.
We are so blessed, indeed, John, to have you and the gifts of your creativity and the music that you write and the songs and that we join together and that lifts our souls, our hearts. Thank you so very much. Yes. In Unity, we have our wonderful daily word publication. It gives us an inspirational for each day of the year. I'll ask Kelsey to come forward and read that daily word for you, and then we will follow that with a time of mindfulness, a time of prayer and meditation.
Our word for today, Sunday, June 23rd, is generous. I honor the divinity in others through my generosity. There have been times when I relied on the generosity of others. I remember feeling grateful when they shared what they had with open hearts, not thinking of how I might repay their kindness. This is a true gift of generosity, not just the material offered or the service rendered, but the feeling I am worthy of someone's time, treasure, and effort. This love and compassion is at the heart of my generous impulses too. I give not out of pity or even out of obligation or duty, but so others may know their worthiness through me. Each person is a divine being made in the image and likeness of God. I honor each person's divinity by doing what I can to help and support them, as others have helped and supported me. Those who are generous are blessed, for they share their bread with the poor. Proverbs 22:9.
Kelsey, thank you. Thank you for reading the daily word and beginning to move us into that place of our own personal interconnection to Infinite Spirit. So I invite you, whether you're here in the room or at home or out and about, but joining us on the live stream service, to just breathe into this moment. To just gift this time to yourself to step away from the busyness of the outer world in order to connect with the life force that you are, that is inherent within, that which is the Christos, that higher beingness, the flow of pure energy. And when we breathe, it reminds us of that continual connection, that infinite in-breath, out-breath that is the natural function and flow of all of creation, of which we are a part. And so we continue to breathe into spirit, into this now moment. And as I play our singing bowl, just connect to that energetic vibrational essence of the tone that is of the heart chakra, the chakra of love. And as we allow ourselves to be open to feel that energetic vibration in every cell and part of our being, we recognize that music and tone are a wonderful way to connect beyond our outer human thinking minds into the depth of our pure beingness. And so we let that experience move through us, wash over us, cleansing the way, opening us into this now experience. This choiceful experience of, we might call communion, a connection, a oneness with the truth of our being, with the design of who we are, with the core of light inherent within each and every one of us, that is present in the center of every cell, that is present in the heart of our being, that is present in our consciousness. And we allow ourselves to just be immersed from the within to the without, and from the without to the within. That which is the infinite give and take, the breath, the flow, reminding us that we are all a part of the inter-network of being. With each breath that we take, it reminds us of our connection to that which we would call infinite mind, infinite heart, infinite presence. That which guides us, which moves us forward. That which is the inspiration that leads us, that comforts us, that supports us. And so in this now moment, in this place of openness and a willing receptivity, we allow the flow of wisdom to touch and heal us in the places where we need healing. We allow Spirit to flow through us as inspirational insight and upliftment. We allow the joy of gracious Godness to bubble up within the heart of our being, and we participate in that joy and know that we are made of that joy. And we celebrate it, we give thanks. And we just rest in this place of oneness, in this place of wholeness and connection. Knowing that we are infinitely blessed and graced and loved beyond measure, and that we are love, we are blessing, we are grace in expression also. And so in that reciprocal flow that is the experience of life and being, we immerse ourselves now in this time of inner quiet and connection to all of creation and all that is. is in the silence. And so as we have received in this silence and in this wondrous heart-soul connection, we now share that light forth to surround the prayers in our prayer box in that highest consciousness, and to take a moment to speak aloud the names or situations of those we would especially bless at this time. Sue Ellen, Terry, Matt, Courtney, Donalyn, Noah, Kelsey, Joey, Jack, Linda, John, Bob, Karen, Marie, Ron, Karen, Shireen, Teresa, Tamara, Unity of Michiana, Unity Worldwide Ministries and Unity World Headquarters, our political arena, all people involved, highest good affirmed. And so we give thanks as we hold these and all others in that light of the greatest flow of consciousness for positive good. And we give thanks. And so it is. Amen.
Breathe through me, breathe through me, oh precious Spirit, breathe through me, breathe through me, breathe through me, oh blessed Spirit, breathe through me. Live through me, live through me. Oh, blessed Spirit, live through me. Live through me, live through me. Oh, blessed Spirit, live through me. This is a participation song No words, but it's easy to catch. Let's check something. Yep. I guess I'm not going to have a backing track. Sorry about that. Okay. Well, when I get down, sometimes I need to replenish my stock. When I get down, sometimes I need to replenish my stock. I come to church on Sunday where the love flows and never stops. Well, all my friends and family are thinking about a better way. Well, all my friends and family thinking about a better way. Love and kindness that grows to a bright new day. Hey now, on my path towards freedom, accept people as they come. Each person I meet, brothers, sisters, everyone. And if I disagree, try to understand. Cause love and understanding will make me a better man. When I get down, sometimes I need to replenish my stock. You know it never stops. When I get down, sometimes I need to replenish my stock. Come to church on Sunday where the love flows and never stops. I said yes, yes. I said yes, yes. I said yes, yes. I said yes, yes. Come on, man. I said yes, yes. I said yes, my Lord. I said love, love. I said love, love. I said love, love, love. I said love, love. I said love, love. I said love, my Lord. It's a brand new day. It's a beautiful day. It's a lovely day. It's a wonderful day. It's a brand new day. Well, it's a beautiful day, my Lord. Now, unity now. I said unity now. I said unity now. I said unity now. I said flip tip 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 toy. I said unity right now, yeah, dude. Okay, I'm done. It's your turn.
Turn. I hand the baton over. There we go. Oh, gosh. Thanks, John. I don't know about you, but music just always moves through my soul and touches me. And many of you were probably not aware, I was actually gone all this last week. I was attending Unity's annual convention and back at Unity Village. And it was just a wonderful experience. Usually I'm gone a little bit longer, but this was a shorter trip. And having come from that and all the music that was shared at the convention and all of the people, it just filled and touched my soul. And I wanted to share a little bit of that with you also. So my talk title for today is Unity, the Larger Picture. So each of you are here and were drawn to be here for your own personal reasons, whatever in your soul moved you or a friend grabbed you and dragged you along and got you here, however that was. There is something that draws us to be a part of what we call the Unity spiritual movement. And oftentimes we don't really know the background or the history or what that really means, because we come on a Sunday to this lovely facility that's here, that's Unity of Michiana, and don't realize the breadth and the depth of being a part of a network of Unity churches that have been established well, not all of them established the whole time, but the Fillmores that started this movement back in the late 1800s. And we have built upon that and have grown and changed and been in evolutionary change, as all things are, over this time. And I just wanted to share a little bit with you because of my own passion for Unity, and many of you know that I grew up mostly in Unity, so by the time I was like 8 or 9, I asked my parents if they would take me to Unity Church, and I did not realize my grandparents were involved in Unity, so they were fine with taking me there and dropping me off, and then later on more of the family got involved, but it always called to my soul and to my heart. And then when I was a YOUer, which is in the high school age, we've had, Catherine just graduated from the YOU group here, we would have an annual summer conference. And back in the day, back in my day, we actually met at Unity Village on the grounds. And so there's so many growing experiences and spiritual experiences I had there that just called to my heart. And it was truly there at my last senior year as a YOUer that I had an experience around ministry. And there was something that our group was doing. We were asked to draw on paper, to do something, whatever was going on inside. And all I could do was put these rays of a yellow crayon of light coming from the center of my being. And I knew then that ministry was a part of my soul, but I didn't know how that would look or what direction that would take. And I also knew that it was not my time to step forward into a formal ministerial training or move to be a minister at that time. So I went about my life and did my thing, and it's a story for another time of how finally in a moment I had an experience and knew that calling that I kept pushing to the side was here and now. And that's when I said yes to becoming a minister and went through the process of going to Unity grounds through the summer for sessions. I had to have 18 pre-credit units, so I had to go and study a lot really fast in a short period of time, and then go through a whole applying process, a whole training process, a whole process that they have to actually accept you into the ministerial school. So I did that and did not know until 3 weeks ahead. They don't let, back in the day, they didn't let you know until about 3 weeks ahead whether you had been accepted into the ministerial training or not. And at that point, whoever that was, needed to just plain be ready to pull up roots and move there and be there for 2 years to go through the Masters of Divinity program. And So I was sort of poised and ready, but sort of not. You know, it's like, oh, my whole life, and I had a balloon decor business, and what am I going to do? And do I really pull up roots? And oh, it's 3 weeks ahead, and how do I get everything there? And you should have seen me pack up my little, at that time, I had a little dark green Toyota Echo, which is about this big of a car, you know. And I packed everything in all around me, and I drove there and started ministerial school and graduated 2 years later in 2007. So we were the class of 007, see, and we were so fired up and excited. Why I share all of this with you, though, is because my roots go deeply into the energetic presence of Unity Village and Unity Grounds. And I know that when we talk about that, it's like, for any of you who have not ever been there, it's hard to, what the heck is Unity Village? What in the heck does that even mean? It's the Mecca. Chrissy said, absolutely. And Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, and that's a whole long story. I've done that at other times. I'll do it some other time. Bottom line is, Charles was an amazing mystic, and he tuned into spirit deeply. And he knew, he stood upon this ground of acres and acres of land and knew that it was one of those energy vortexes that you find around the planet. And that began the process of them building and growing what came to be known as Unity Village, and still is. It has its own postal address, its own zip code. And so I took some pictures while I was back there, and I'll be showing you a little bit of Unity Ground so you can just kind of be immersed and have a sense of it. But I really wanted to share so that people understand it's not just us right here, that we are all a part of other Unity churches, not only here in the United States, but around the world. And we have gone through so many iterations and changes of how we were structured and who we are, and that exploration that is natural for organizations to go through. We've gone through ministerial school being handled a certain way, and then shifting to it being a Masters of Divinity program, and then having the urban ministerial school begin to bring in their take on the ministry path. And so this year, I got there on Monday for most of the graduation process. And these were ministers who had studied and were either at this point at least licensed or were fully ordained into ministry throughout the United States and in other countries. There were 72 ministers that were honored on Monday. And it speaks to, and many of those were from other countries. And in the service, they were brought in, we got to see them, I don't know, the technology, the wonderful thing like that Kevin does. And so I don't know if it was Zoom or live stream or whatever the heck, but we got to experience them being blessed, receiving their stole, and or being ordained. And it was a tremendously moving experience. But I share this so that you can have a sense of and connect in to being a part of something that is greater than just this building right here. And though your heart has called you to be here, it's like begin to recognize that the prayer work that we do, and that's so important right now in our world, in the changes that are happening, in the chasms, in the differences of opinion, the prayer work is not only being done here by us, but by churches around the world and around the country. H.E. Luckock, who was a Methodist minister and a professor of homiletics at Yale Divinity School, he says, no one can whistle a symphony. It takes a whole orchestra to play it. And we all, of course, know Helen Keller. She says, alone we can do so little, together we can do so much. And this is so representative of the Unity movement. And I'm going to talk in just a moment about its structure a little bit so we understand, but I want to read this from Scripture, Romans 15, 5 through 6. May the God of steadfastness and encouragement grant you to live in harmony with one another. And Psalm 133, verse 1, how very good and pleasant it is when kindred live together in unity. And I wanted to preface the conversation with an understanding, friends, that unity, just like all of us and in our world and in our experiences, has gone through many iterations and many changes, and what some might call turmoil, some might call chaos. And so the structure of it has kind of moved and changed, and at one time there was just Unity Grounds and the Unity School of Christianity that the Fillmore started, and then there was a board of directors there and a CEO, and then there was a group that broke off and became what was called at that time, back in the 70s, I think it was, the Association of Unity Churches. Because the large overhead group of Unity Grounds, which had to do with silent unity, many of you have called in prayers, which had to do with the publishing department of their books, which had to do with retreats on the center, and at that time they still handled the teaching, the classes, and ordination. But what was found was the ministers were out there doing what ministers are called to do, and yet felt sort of abandoned and had no support. And so through many iterations, I won't go through all of it, I've certainly lived through almost all of that in the separation, and in the past 15 years at least, though this Association of Unity Churches pulled off and began to do its own thing, they were still sort of under the auspices of unity, but who knew kind of how that was? And any of you who are into corporate structure know how sort of entangled that could be. They were their own entity in their own group, and there has been this sort of trying to bring back together and to be able to present to the world so that the world kind of knows what unity is. Because don't we go online? Don't we read everything? We try to figure stuff out, and it's confusing because here's unity, but there's unity.org on the internet, and then there's unit, and then there's another website, and so it's challenging for people to know and understand. What I wanted to share with you is a few years back, the Association of Unity Churches changed its identity and became what's called Unity Worldwide Ministries, UWM for short, and all mostly say just ministries, worldwide ministries. So that group that serves the ministers and boards of trustees and the churches restructured their name, and at the same time the headquarters or the grounds restructured their name to be UWH, Unity World Headquarters. So we've got Worldwide Ministries and World Headquarters, and they're two sort of separate factions with their own CEO and their own board, and everyone gets confused because the letters are similar, and it's like, who the heck does what, and all of that. So I wanted to share a little bit of that with you in an understanding that those shifts and changes in trying to define even what Worldwide Ministries is about, and because I actually served on the Worldwide Unity Ministries board for a couple of years, a few years back, and was a part of, at that time, the hiring of a brand new CEO who held a vision that we felt would move us forward, and the restructuring of the purpose of Worldwide Ministries. And the idea was nobody kind of knew, what Worldwide Ministries did. It's like, who are they? What do they do? I don't know. And the idea was to shift to being of service to churches. That was originally what people expressed they wanted. So that portion of Unity exists today to be there for the churches, and they now have taken on the classes and the teaching of the ministerial courses and bringing all the different factions of how people can become a Unity minister, all of that together. So there's all these things out there, right? It's like herding cats. What we sort of know that's a part of Unity, isn't it? Because we don't have a specific tenets, or we don't say this is how you have to think. We say we all come together for our own spiritual connection and growth. Well, that kind of leaves everything wide open, does it not? So everyone has an opinion. What does that whole thing sound like of an organization kind of over here and they're doing service, and then another organization over here, and differences of opinion? Does it sound like your life at all? Does it sound like the world right now in its political structures? Yeah. And so while we look to whatever we think is the head of Unity, you know, and don't we put it on a pedestal because it's supposed to be sacred and pure? And it's made up of all of us, friends. It's made up of all of us. We are what Unity is. And so we bring all of these differing opinions, all of these differing paths, all of these ideas, and darn it all, I know mine's right. Don't we all know ours is right and somebody else's is wrong? I definitely know mine's not right, but I know it's for me. I know it's my path, and each of you also in your journey. And yet we come together to kind of share that with each other and say, what are you doing that helps and works? And what are you doing? Well, we do that in Unity as well. And it is what we recognize as termed in spiral dynamics, which is the study of evolutionary consciousness. Spiral dynamics always says, as you move to a new tier of consciousness and being, as humanity has done over the millennium of years, that you move to a new level of consciousness, and so you transcend where you were, but you also included what worked from before. So you include and yet you transcend. And so right now, just to share with you, and being back at Unity in the convention, and we have not actually had the convention on Unity grounds before. Maybe they did before me. That was a long time ago. But it was so wonderful to go back and walk the grounds that I had spent 2.5 years very solidly immersed in spiritual influx and flow and learning and stretching and growing. And it was a significant time of my life because there's an energy there that invites one to move and shift and change. And so to have all of these ministers be there, and then to see the changes of Unity Village itself. Oh my gosh, they tore down buildings. They changed stuff. They moved the labyrinth from here into this. They tore down a fountain, oh goodness, but they did these beautiful pavers instead of paint on an asphalt, old unused parking lot. They did beautiful pavers and created this beautiful new labyrinth. And see, that's what our lives are like, friends. You know, it's letting go of how things have always been that we feel comfortable with, and it changes, and we're like, oh, I don't want to let go, I don't want to let go, and then we go, oh my gosh, look at this beautiful thing over here, you know? And so Unity itself is in the midst of that evolutionary shifting once again. While we were there, we had an opportunity to sit with Unity Worldwide Ministries Board and ask some questions, because recently the CEO, who I personally know, I was on that board when we hired this new CEO, he was recently released. I know everybody goes, oh, okay, what was that about? And so everyone, you know, isn't that like the world, though? You know, stuff happens out there, and like, oh, what did they do? They do something wrong. Oh, why is that happening? What's going on? You know? And so while we were there, we had an opportunity for the board to sit and for people to come up and ask questions or present ideas and differing things that way. And sometimes people were quite upset. The CEO himself, who was released, Shad Groveland, is an amazing man of vision. And he released a video after he was released that shared beautifully, with full, no animosity, with just full grace and amazing presence, saying, this is one of those shifts, of differing ideas, and to trust that there's something out picturing, different than we might have thought or expected. And he was present at the convention. It was absolutely amazing. But it's important to recognize that unity, like our world today, is in this transformational, evolutionary shift and change. Unity has, for the last year or two, been trying to sort of brand itself, or how do we explain to the outer world who we are? And a big question that's been on the table is, are we Christian? Oh, that's a loaded question. And every single person who is a part of the unity movement has an idea, and the right idea, and the absolute, did you put it on your question, Chrissy? And it's a question that's fomenting and is present. And one of the things that has been present for me, and what I shared when the board allowed us to come forward, is the word Christian is so semantical, friends. To any person you say that word to, it has a specific meaning. So if we're to be about branding, which is to clarify who we are, and we use a word that has a different meaning for many, many people, it's like that's not the most effective way to brand or to explain. And I know through my time here, and as I've talked to people when I've been out having dinner, and I say, they say, what do you do? Oh, well, I'm a minister, and they're like, oh, okay. And then they'll say, well, are you Christian? It's one of the first things I hear. And the first thing I say to them, what does being a Christian mean to you? I know that kind of shuts them up. Sorry. They kind of go, well, it's being Christian, And so it's an interesting conversation, and it's an interesting conversation for each of us to begin to address within ourselves. Am I Christian? And am I Christian according to the Christianity that was developed approximately 150 to 200 years after Christ died? Christ did not start the Church of Christianity. Christ walked in the light of a Christ consciousness and taught. And then that was taken mostly by Paul, who wasn't even one of the original disciples, and then formulated into a church and a way of being in the Catholic Church and its foundations, and that became Christianity. Now, the Fillmores, absolutely, their foundation is in the teachings of Jesus. Because of all the different avatars and beings of light, the teachers, Buddha, Krishna, all of the different avatars who have been in our world, Gandhi, everyone. Back at that time, the Fillmores felt that Jesus held the greatest light of truth, which was a concept of infinite love, not human emotional love, but the oneness of all creation, and that oneness being a presence of love, of light. And so that's why the Fillmores associated so much with Jesus. But does that make us Christian? So that's a big question that has been on the plate for Unity and for Worldwide Ministries as well as World Headquarters. And so all of that's going on, at this convention and conference. And the one thing that I can say is that while some were upset, some were not, some had valid questions, some just needed to vent, through the whole experience, there was a prayer energy held there by the board themselves who sat on the stage, and by the people in the room, and I know by people elsewhere who are holding this experience in light, that was exemplary. It was an example of the way to be in this 21st century of navigating through change and challenge. I'd like to share a quote from Haile Selassie, was the emperor of Ethiopia from 1930 to 1974. He says, "We must become bigger than we have been, more courageous, greater in spirit, larger in outlook. We must become members of a new race, overcoming petty prejudice, owing our ultimate allegiance not to nations, but to our fellow men within the human community," friends. And this is the idea that underlies all of who we are and what we are about at Unity. Because we talk about oneness and wholeness. We never talk about sameness. That's right, Ella, exactly. She was commenting on that. And from Scripture, Ephesians 4:2-3, it says, "Be completely humble and gentle. Be patient, bearing with one another in love. Make every effort to keep the unity of the Spirit through the bond of peace." And friends, that's what was my experience of being at the convention. And for the first time ever, they incorporated a time of being on the grounds and then of it being a retreat the first day. Well, the first day was graduation, so the second day on Tuesday was a time of retreat and renewal for us as ministers. You know, what a novel concept that ministers need support and renewal. Well, of course we know that, and it's taught in every ministerial class, and it's like, but do that, but don't take time or anything to do it, but you need to do that. And it was wonderful. Reverend Paulette Pipe, who is this magnificent woman, she's done Unity broadcasts. She puts on all kinds of retreats and peace talks. She's traveled around the world. She was on staff at Unity. She now has her own business and does this, but okay, so for those of you who aren't in the room, we're whirling A, B, C, D. So Colleen opened a book for little Ella and forgot that it was, it could sing to us. Thank you. So, okay, where was I? That was too cute. Paulette Pipe, and doing this wonderful retreat for us. And it made such a difference because the energy, kind of those all friends said we all came in there with on that first day, and by the end of the day, we felt so much more centered and connected to each other and to ourselves. And it made the greatest difference in the entire experience of the week. It was absolutely transformative in how it was presented and how it was done for the whole week, for the whole conference. And I had a thought there. I was going to say, and so that set the stage for us to be able to be there with each other and for each other. And so at this time, I do want, I put together some pictures. Again, these are not perfect because guess who the photographer was? And I want to show you a little bit about Unity Village so you have a sense when I say that, it's not just this word that like rolls over the top of your head and you go, I don't know what that is. But for those of you who've been there, these will be fond memories. For those of you who hadn't, go ahead and roll, Susan. Okay, so this was the Monday when there was graduation. This is in the newer Silent Unity building, and is now the chapel that Unity on Grounds, they have their own church there too. It used to be in this huge auditorium that is now undergoing a massive, multi-billion-dollar renovation into a new activity center. But so they meet there for church, and this was the end of graduation, and there was the graduation speech that was being given. Okay, so just, that's okay, you can stay there, but just appreciate that chapel is so beautiful. It's newer, but it was a part of what was there and when I was there, and it is a part of the Silent Unity building, the tower that everybody knows. It's at the top, that's always lit. That's a part of that big building. So this was one of the slides that Paulette put up, and I'll read to you because anybody can read what it says on there? Probably not. So I just wanted to share. It says, self-care isn't always chocolate cake and trips to the spa. Sometimes it's meal planning, going to bed early, or letting go of a bad friend. It's forgiving yourself for not seeing your own impossible standards and understanding that you are worthy. Always. Self-care isn't just luxuries, but a means for survival. And that was something, that's an anonymous quote, that was something that was taken from Facebook. That's how we started our experience there. It was wonderful. Next picture, please. So that was on Tuesday. On Wednesday was Juneteenth. And there was a wonderful presentation by Sandra Campbell, who heads up the UUM, which is the Unity Urban Ministerial School that's in Detroit. And there's a whole board of trustees there, and they brought in this wonderful, these drummers. So John, as you were playing the music and we were clapping, I'm so used to the whole room jumped up and was clapping, and I'm like, okay, come on, join in. It was such a wonderful feeling. And so then the drummers are in the background, then they had these dancers, and then they had people from the audience came up and they taught them this dance. I did not go up, but I thought about it. So, but it was such a wonderful day, and that was for the whole first part of the day. And then later on in the afternoon, we had breakout sessions, some of which were renewal, like a mystical nature hike on the grounds, or a sound bath. Some of it, I went to another one on Unity's principles and spiritual social action. That was phenomenal. So there were all these different options available. Okay, next picture. I better go faster. This was back, a grander picture. The tower in the very back there is the main tower of Unity Village. And all people coming from miles around, it's historical, can see that water tower. The Fillmore Sun, pardon me? Yeah, you can see it from the interstate. And Charles, their son created this thing, this concept no one else had ever thought of. He put this, I don't know, bazillion gallons of water clear up at the top of that tower that flowed down through a system of pipes and into the fountains. And then the water then was pumped into the rooms to do that water air cooling thing, came back out, flowed out through the fountains to be cooled down, and was recycled. And so that tower is actually a part of historical a monument, and it's amazing. But this just gives you that right there is the hotel that they put, which is a fully green hotel. Ella doesn't like the pictures too much. and so I wanted to get, this is just a sense. Okay, next picture. That's a better picture of the tower. And that is now, it used to be the Unity Inn where they served food. It's now the ballroom, and it's where they hold weddings and different things like that. The main activity center that was the church, this chapel that seated like 3,000 people, that's being renovated, is off to the side. Okay, next. And this is from the parking lot. That tower at the top is the tower that's lit at night of Silent Unity. Okay, but you can see this old Spanish style that their son Rickard, or I can't remember who it was, went to Spain and studied, and Italy, and studied architecture, and came back and designed. So this is a major part of Unity grounds. That is the activity center. You can't see, I'm surprised the crane wasn't still up in the air, but they're keeping those colonnades and the facades, but they are breaking down everything inside to make it a state-of-the-art center, convention center for weddings, for big conferences to come in, and all different kinds of things. But you can see, well, it's hard to see, but there's that part in front is the rose gardens. Many of you knew the rose gardens, and then there's a fountain. There's a closer up picture later on. So, okay, next picture. And that is the Unity Tower from across part of the grounds. Okay, next. And so the picture you just saw was off this side, the whole corridor off the side, and you'll see the fountains in just a minute that would be on the right-hand side. That is looking at the building that is where I studied, where they used to have the school. Now so much of the ministerial training is online. To the left of it and at the very end is the original Peace Chapel. It's a little tiny, tiny chapel. You could go in and pray anytime. And then next to it is what was called the Fillmore Chapel. It was a very small chapel. They have left it just historically, and it's used for different events. But that's where I studied, and to the left of it is the big tower is off to the left. Okay, next picture. This is, many of you, I don't know how many of you have heard of the Bridge of Faith. I'm sure, Chrissy, you heard of it. Some of you who have been there, there's a beautiful bridge that went across the long bank of fountains. And this is called the Bridge of Faith. And that building where the three cupola things are, the Fillmore sometimes would stand up there on that balcony and talk to people as they stood or sat on the Bridge of Faith. Okay, next picture. This is inside the foyer, and this is a look at old history of Unity. This is just the wood and the whole structure, and you can't really see it close up here, but along the those lighted scallop things have the Unity dove etched into all of that. Okay, next picture. Now you can see that's the Bridge of Faith. That's the fountains going to the big activity center that's being changed, and then the fountains also go this way. Next one. Now, originally the fountains were right down the middle in this big rounded structure, and the water just flowed over it. Oh, I miss those. This was a newer creation, yeah. Trans Am didn't include, at least they continued to have fountains, so it's wonderful. But these are the beautiful fountains now. Okay, next picture. And so you can see again, going to, that's the Bridge of Faith and the activity center in the back. Next picture. And this is looking at the Silent Unity building and where the Atrium Chapel is. You saw that very first picture where the students were graduated and where the current Unity Church there has theirs. And we had most of our activities there. Next picture. And then if you turned around from that and looked the other way, that's what I was just talking about, the student building and then the Fillmore Chapel. And that's the tower, the edge of that. Okay, next picture. And that's the fountain up close. It was hard to capture with the lights and then the, anyway, next picture. And there's Unity Tower with some of the fountains just, sort of, okay, next picture. And this is walking down to the activity center and off to the hotel. And that lighted hallway has always been beautiful, but the flowers there were kept so well. Next picture. Beautiful flowers in pots. And they are now working on, because from the activity center, there's always been steps up into the whole rest of the village. And they're putting in some elevators and some ramps and things to make it more handicap accessible. Next picture. And that's just at night with the columns lit. Next picture. That too, with lit in the pretty flowers, purple. I had to take a picture of purple flowers, yes. Okay, next picture. And that is seeing the tower at night and the clouds and things being lit. Next picture. And off to the right, it's really hard to see the red roof. That's an old little cottage. They used to have people live on grounds, a few people. No one is occupying it now. And then there was this beautiful sunset going on. Next picture. And this is an arch that leads into the Myrtle Fillmore Garden, where they have a lot of outdoor weddings. And then if you go in that lighted door, that's the Unity Inn, where I got to stay because I made my reservation last year before I left. Most people were staying off ground because they don't have that many rooms there. And that light, that ball of light at the top, that's the full moon. Okay, next. And this is one of the old cottages. Now they use it just for the gardener's tools and stuff. And next to that white building there is an old asphalt parking lot, and that's where the old labyrinth was painted, but is still there. Next picture. I think it looks like a Hobbit home. Don't you think so? Any of you are Hobbit? Now, I don't know if you can see. It's kind of hard, but there's a deer right there. And I went back into some of the paths that are now kind of closed off, but and so came upon the deer, and then deer would wander all over. Next picture. And that is the board of trustees. And all of them standing there being held, in that prayer consciousness, and they sat for probably 2.5 hours going through, having people question them. And next picture, and the final picture. I love this. This was over near the bookstore. I said, can I buy one of those? They said, oh, no, we don't have them. But so any of you find one of these online, let me know. Unapologetically inclusive. And that says what unity is all about. So thank you for that. And if we can go back to the other slides. And light so I can see, that's good too. So I just wanted us to be aware a little bit more of our roots, of your roots, of what unity is. And I'm sorry this is taking quite a long time today, but thank you for being a part of this service and just recognizing that there is this resource and that UWM, UWH are going through some changes. So is our world, so are our lives. And we understand how important it is to evolve into what's new and to be willing to create and to look at our political arena and hold the light for there to be a greater consciousness to come forth and to be the light in the world that we all can be. I'd like to share a quote from Tracy Brown. She says, thriving 21st century spiritual communities are composed of many individual people who come together to create a deep and meaningful experience where everyone grows spiritually together and each person is valued for the unique experiences they contribute to the whole. That's what we are, a 21st century spiritual community. And Tracy Brown's a spiritual coach and a New Thought teacher and ancient wisdom teacher. And Regina G., who's also a Wellspring coaching New Thought teacher, she says, according to Brené Brown, connection is the energy that is created between people when they feel seen, heard, and valued. This energy is the foundation of purpose and meaning in our lives. Brené Brown believes that connection is why we are here and that the medicine both individuals and the world needs is more meaningful connection. So, friends, I do want us to be connected here, across the miles to those of you who are online, and across to all the Unity churches, not only here, but in other countries, and to recognize and take a look at what draws you here. What's important to you here? Is it the spiritual connection? Is it a chance to grow and to learn? Is it being of service to others, taking a part and being a light out into the world? So consider that as we go forward, as we continue to create and grow Unity of Michiana. Let us be aware of what's important to us. And from Scripture in 1 Corinthians 14:26, whenever you come together, each of you has a psalm, a teaching, a tongue, a revelation, has an interpretation. Let all things be done for building up, friends. We each bring something to the table. And in Matthew 10:24 through 25, and let us consider how to stir up one another to love and good works, not neglecting to meet together as is the habit of some, but encouraging one another. David Spangler, who was a practical mystic, says, some people think they are in community, but they are only in proximity. True community requires commitment and openness. It is a willingness to extend yourself to encounter and to know the other. So while we may come here, each of us, to be infilled, let us consider also, how are we showing up in community? Are we present? Are we willing to contribute? Are we willing to serve? And Jean Vanier, Canadian theologian, says, one of the marvelous things about community is that it enables us to welcome and help people in a way we couldn't as individuals, friends. So in closing, I would like to say, as my core statement, that unity It's a place to explore spirituality while connecting with uplifting community friends. And let's all recognize we are a part of that. This is our church. We solely support and create this church financially, and in all of our endeavors and how we serve and do everything else. And so Margaret J. Wheatley, in closing, she's a writer, a speaker, a management consultant. She says, when we seek for connection, we restore the world to wholeness. Our seemingly separate lives become meaningful as we discover how truly necessary we are to each other. So friends, I know this has gone quite long. Sorry, I did not expect it to be that long, but I really appreciate you being present and knowing that we are part of a greater whole, that we are part of the Unity Spiritual Movement, and recognizing that while we may not be like any other, we are our own individual expression. Let us tune in to what is ours to do, to be, to share, and how we show up. So thanks, everyone, and that concludes that. So let me share really quickly our happenings and events. And it looks like, oh, I thought Chrissy had an announcement. Okay, so the Wednesday Zoom group for right now is on thecess. The Mexican Train Domino's is meeting today right after the service. The youth department, the summer activities, though we are not doing the usual curriculum, which will start back up in September, they are still here and gathering and having fun activities. You asked for it, Sunday messages. There's sheets on your chairs. There's stuff in the foyer. Those of you online, you can go to our website, or you can post a question to Susan in the comments if you have something, a question about Unity teachings, metaphysics, applying truth principles. Ask your questions, and I'll try to address some of those through July and August in my talks. And Colleen, did you and Ella want to come up and talk about the Moms Gather and Grow group that's going to be meeting for the first time tomorrow?
Well, hopefully Ella doesn't take over this announcement. But yeah, so we're excited. We're going to have our first Moms group meeting tomorrow. We're starting up a new Moms group called Moms Gather and Grow. And this was the perfect talk, Reverend Sandy, for me to talk about this, because I think it really is intended to be another arena where we can connect and have a really inclusive space to share, support each other, learn and grow together. So as moms, we have a lot of highs and lows. And so really our goal is to just be open to this community. Any moms or mom figures that are looking for community are welcome. We encourage all beliefs, all backgrounds, LGBTQ, gender identity. So we really seek to just be an open, judgment-free zone for moms to get together and connect. So we're excited. Our first meeting is tomorrow. We're going to have childcare available. Patty's going to help us out. And then we'll have a light dinner provided too. So my ask is we're trying to get this going and to spread the word. So we're doing a lot of word of mouth right now. If you know any moms or mom figures, if you could just send them a text and let them know that we're starting this group. They're welcome to join tomorrow, or we're planning to have meetings monthly. So we would love your help if you think of anyone.
And you can tell them that I'll just come. I get to be with Ella and Colleen. So on the Unity of Michiana on our website, they have created a page, a group page. Susan, is that right? It's on. Oh, on Facebook. I'm sorry. Not okay. Thank you. It's on our Facebook page. Go to Facebook, and under that, they have created under our Facebook. They've created their own page, and so anybody can easily go there. So if you're texting somebody or know somebody, say, hey, go to Unity's Facebook and then look for the Moms Grow group, Gather and Grow, and they can sign up there and come on down.
Yeah, great point. Yeah, there's a Facebook event, and Susan sent out the link in the weekly e-news. So if you need to find it, it's in there. So yeah, we're excited. We'll keep you updated on how it goes, and thanks for your help.
Thank you. And that concludes our announcements. And so at this time, in that consciousness of the prosperity of all being, that God is our source, that not God a person, but the flow of energy of our universe whose purpose is of goodness, of sufficiency, and more. That is a source from which we give and from which we receive. Let us hold our offerings in that consciousness. You can give at unitymichiana.org. You can give on our phone app or here in the room or the QR code. We are so grateful for the blessings of all that you share with us. So hold that consciousness as we affirm together our affirmation. I am a joyful recipient of God's bountiful blessings, and with a grateful heart, I give freely in return. And as we participate and we feel the flow of energy, we recognize God is source. Life is source. Breath is source, of which we are a part. And as we participate in that, we give and then we receive back. And it is an ongoing, beautiful, uplifting cycle of graciousness, prosperity, and abundance. And we say thank you. Amen. And now let's rise and sing our peace song and close with our prayer.
The
Sun and the wind and rain bring everything we need.
Father, sky above, Mother earth beneath. Peace on earth, peace on earth, peace on earth, peace on earth. We're sisters and brothers all the world around. We lift our voices high in one joyous sound. Peace on earth, peace on earth, peace on earth, peace on earth.
And our prayer for protection: the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And so it is, and so we let it be. My blessings to all of you here and at home. Have a wonderful week ahead. Take care.